In a world where trailers can make or break a film. I'm not going to do that the whole thing, but we're going to be talking about movie trailers with Charlie Duber. Cue the music. Welcome, everyone, to the Entertainment Buffet podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Prosick, and with me today is high school buddy and fellow podcaster, Charlie Duber. How's it going, Charlie?
Good. I'm Charlie.
Yes, you are.
No, but yeah, I am. It's going well. I'm doing pretty good. Feeling excited about this podcast, about being here, being on the show, hanging out, doing stuff.
Yeah, and we are, this is the first time I'm doing a podcast where me and the other person are in two different states.
Yes.
So
I'm in exciting Missouri, and you're in exciting Illinois. Which when you say Illinois instead of Chicago, it makes it sound way more boring.
Yeah. Basically, today, we're going to be talking about movie trailers, but let me get all the plugs out of the way. If you could please, for the podcast, subscribe, share, leave a review, rate us on iTunes. That would be great. It gets us out to a bigger audience. Ours, if you are an Apple hater and don't go on iTunes, you can catch on Podbean, Stitcher, Blubrry, Google Play, all the other shit. And if you could also follow and check out Charlie and his wife Bethany's podcast, Movie Trailer Trash. If you do you want to plug it away there, Charlie?
At MTT Podcast, which is the Twitter, obviously, and mttpodcast.com, which is the website. And that's where you go to get all the same stuff that you would get at Twitter or iTunes. No, there's actually some blogs on there, I think, and we're going to try and do more of those, but they, you have to actually go see the movie in order to do a blog, and that just takes a long time. And I got stuff to do. But yeah, there's some stuff on there. There's some comparisons when we do try and guess the Rotten Tomatoes scores for the trailer, but before the movie comes out. And so after it comes out, we'll put up the comparison of what it actually got compared to what we think it would get. And a few of them have been fairly embarrassing recently. So there's that.
But that's something we'll talk about with trailers. It could be a movie that the trailer looks awesome, and then the movie's shit, or backwards. So
they're a fickle beast.
And Charlie, you also host another podcast with your brother Vinny called The Brothers Marvel.
The Brothers Marvel podcast, which actually has a little bit more of a purpose for it. We're going back from the very beginning of the Marvel comic book universe, starting at the very first comic that they wrote, which was the Fantastic Four issue 1, and we're going from in the 1960s, and we're just reading through them and doing a little bit of recap. I would say, we're about almost 20 episodes in, so we're almost 20 issues in, and I would say that 80% of them are ridiculous and borderline bad. And so, but like the ones that are good from that time period are really good, and so we talk about that. We kind of make fun of them. It's mostly just me laughing, and so we have a Twitter also at Brothers Marvel. The show is called The Brothers Marvel. You find it wherever. Just type it into Google.
I was about to say wherever podcasts are sold.
Wherever podcasts are sold. Pick it up at your local street corner on the newsstand for 4 cents.
Oh, Borders Books.
Borders Books. Barnes and Noble.
But yeah, as a listener of both those podcasts, they are quite a bit of fun to listen to, both Charlie with his wife Bethany and also his brother Vinny, especially the Brothers Marvel. Like you said, some of those comics just sound ridiculous.
Yeah, a lot of them are pretty outrageous.
And it's just hilarious hearing you two try to describe what's happening and try to understand what Stan Lee was doing, which is usually nonsense.
and also very often has a lot to do with magnets. He didn't grasp the entire magnet technology, I think, very well.
He didn't quite understand science.
No.
So
No.
you can check
No part of science.
You could check those out on iTunes along with our podcast. They give us episodes every week. Ours are still coming at the moment every other Tuesday, and ours, if you are an Apple hater and don't go on iTunes, you can catch on Podbean, Stitcher, Blubrry, Google Play, all the other shit.
We just started putting all of the audio ones onto YouTube, onto the Entertainment Buffet channel.
Yes.
So, I mean, there's that are going to be up there also. If you want to listen to them and look at the logo, it's a very beautiful logo.
Yes.
And yeah, it'll be good.
Yeah, so like he said, Movie Trailer Trash, both a few video podcasts as well as their audio ones are now going to be available on our Entertainment Buffet channel. So subscribe, share, like that as well. Catch Entertainment Buffet on Facebook, Twitter, and entertainmentbuffet.com. But whew, we got all those plugs away.
Jeez, what was that, like 20 minutes? Are we almost done?
I figure before we get started, we'll do our LOL of the week. And mine actually involves you, Duber, and a trip down memory lane to when Charlie and I went to high school together. And you can catch on Entertainment Buffet, we re-released the Pros and Dubes show, which was our little attempt at doing a Jake and Amir type college humor show, where most of the time it was just us improving behind a desk, and the camera was on a tripod because we didn't have anyone to film it for us. So
yeah, and I like the quality of film is very nice.
Yeah, it's
just like really high quality sound and video.
It was recorded on mini DV tapes. Yes, tapes.
We're not that old. Like, why does that sound so old?
Well, 6 years is a long time with technology.
In the world of technology.
Exactly.
Whoop, Jinx, you owe me a beverage.
Let me ship that out to you. UPS, you a beverage. So basically, what I didn't want to just bring up the show to do a plug on that, but I wanted to talk about the one time, Duber, we got you to do a cinnamon challenge back when those challenges were all the rage on YouTube. And we did it on school property during school.
During school, yeah. I mean, yeah, it was right outside the door, right? It was in that little corridor or whatever.
Yes.
And we also used school-owned cinema.
Yeah, that was the best part, is basically me and Duber during study hall could pretty much just walk around and do whatever we wanted. And that's where me and him would usually come up with various web show ideas, or we were writing a ridiculous television pilot. And we heard about the Cinnamon Challenge, so we decided to go to the TV department, and because I was one of the more seniors in the TV department, I could just grab a camera, and then we went to the food department and asked if we could borrow some cinnamon. And do you remember what the teacher said?
She said, she was just like, yeah, she went to go get it. She's like, yeah, of course you could have cinnamon. She went to go grab it, and she got it out of the cabinet, and she was going to give it to us, and then she pulled away at the last second, and she was just like, now wait, you guys aren't doing that cinnamon challenge, are you? And then we both just like kind of looked at her, and I was just like, no. She gave it to us, and then I almost threw up.
And yes, so basically we just told her, no, of course not. Why would we do that? And just went, and while other kids were learning and maybe playing tennis in gym, we're doing the cinnamon challenge around the corner during study hall. And I recorded the whole thing, and I'll probably have to put it on Entertainment Buffet. But
I believe that, wasn't it a commercial?
Yes.
On the school TV for a little while?
Yes. Our excuse for doing it during study hall was that we used the footage to mold into a commercial for the school's magazine. The school literary magazine.
It's just like, it was like this little tiny bit of information at the beginning, and then just like 5 minutes of me vomiting into the trash can.
It's just hilarious looking back at that, and like, why did they let me and you get away with that?
We lived in Suburbville, USA. That's where nothing happened. They didn't suspect anyone of anything because the worst thing someone did was steal a piece of candy from the concession stand.
Yeah, I forgot about that for the longest time, and then when me and you started talking again over the last year or so, I just remembering all the little details that we actually went to the food department to get cinnamon. You're not using that for the cinnamon challenge, are you? No.
No. I would never.
I think I remember right after we aired that on the school news show, my teacher was like, "Yeah, I don't think we're gonna show that again."
You gotta burn that.
So, that tape, I'm gonna throw it away. So that's my LOL of the week.
Yeah.
Duber, do you have yourself an LOL of the week?
Yes, I do. Okay. So the balloon story is I was walking to go get my get a package from my leasing office. It's like a few blocks. And as I was walking down the street, a balloon from either a light post or a tree or something had just slowly fallen into the middle of the street. And it's the back streets of Kansas City, so there's a car goes by every year or so. And there's this guy who was walking towards me, and he's he wasn't homeless, but he clearly didn't have a problem with not showering for a while. And he looks over at me, and he looks at the balloon, and he looks back at me, and he his eyes get super wide, and he's just he points at the balloon in the middle of the street and just yells "Balloon!" And so I'm I kind of drop into the fight or flight type situation. And I'm just is this guy going to attack me or what's going on? And he just takes off and sprints into the street. He stomps on the balloon, and it squeaks out under his foot. And he reaches up and he snags it out of the air. And he just just pops it right in front of his face. And he looks back over at me and he just goes, "Got it!" I was like, what the hell is going on? What is happening? He just screams and he's like, "Got it!" And then he just walks to the other sidewalk and just continues on his day like nothing happened.
Because he figured you were so concerned about that. Well, I gotta go get it.
He's just I have to pop this fucking balloon, or terror is going to happen and chaos throughout the city.
Like there's a fly in the apartment, and he's walking around with the fly swatter. There's a balloon. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. It was very strange, and I thought it was hilarious. It was also kind of depressing, though, because that guy was more excited about popping that balloon and accomplishing that than I've been about anything ever in my entire life.
We'll digress, and today I figured a good first topic, first time guest in the podcast, Charlie Duber, we would talk about the thing you talk about a lot on your podcast, movie trailers.
Movie trailers.
And
I mean, because I have a podcast on it, don't make the mistake of thinking I am in any way an expert on it.
Oh, you were definitely an expert.
No, I am definitely not. I say more stupid stuff on that show with 100% confidence than I do in real life by a lot.
No, see, if there was a documentary with you and they put your lower third, it'd be like Charlie Duber, and it would just say person/movie trailer expert. An expert would be in all caps.
Bold, italic, all caps.
Yes. Underlined.
Yeah.
So, movie trailers. I wanted to just talk about various things with these trailers, because nowadays it feels like trailers can almost literally make or break a film. The most recent controversial trailer, I'd have to say, was probably the female Ghostbusters. It is considered the most hated movie trailer in YouTube history. And by most hated, we mean it has the most dislikes. And
which, by the way, have you ever seen a trailer from the 70s or the 80s?
Yes.
They're just the worst pieces of shit in the world. It's just like it's like, oh, welcome as we take you on a journey to so and so wherever, featuring this person, and they have to go through things, and it's just like this narrator telling you every single thing that's gonna happen.
Exactly.
You put that Ghostbusters trailer up against any one of those, and it's gonna win.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, with modern technology and now like with YouTube, like that's predominantly where people see their trailers. Like it used to be back in the day that like you only saw trailers when you were going to the movie to see what other new movies were coming out, or they eventually would put shorter TV spots on TV. But like now it's all just we're watching it on our phone or we're watching it on YouTube. It pops up on the Facebook news feed. So like I feel like so many more people are critical on trailers than they used to be.
Well, and to be fair, with the Ghostbusters one, probably over half of those dislikes were, old, balding white men who saw the trailer and, were just like, hey, they don't have penises, and dislike immediately.
Yeah.
So there's a good portion of that for that one, but, I mean, it wasn't a good trailer.
Oh,
it wasn't good.
I agree. That was a trailer that, like, I understood where people were by saying they didn't like it or they were worried that it was going to not be a good film at all. But to be the most hated in history, I was like, have you guys not seen, 50 Shades of Grey or any of the Twilights?
Well, but those trailers were just nothing, though. They didn't show any of the movie at all. They're just like, here's a person that you know from a book. Here's another person you know from a book. Dark, music, stuff.
Shirt comes off the man.
Shirt comes off the man. Look at those abs. Wet just thinking about it.
Yeah, so I guess it was just so shocking that of all the trailers of the past, 5-10 years, that that's the one that at the moment is the most hated in YouTube history. And like you said, it's not that great of a trailer. Like I thought there was maybe one or two funny parts, but it was just very not well made. But I guess here's a question I'd like to jump off with is to you, what makes a good movie trailer? And it doesn't have to be specific this one's my favorite, but a good one for you that makes you want to see that movie.
I think the best possible thing you could do with a trailer is keep the mystery.
Yes.
So I know that not every movie is a mystery, but is to just in no way whatsoever give away anything that's going to happen in the second half of the movie at all. And maybe even nothing. Maybe even just show the people, try and give a tone of the movie. So 10 Cloverfield Lane, the first trailer for that.
Sure.
I don't know if you remember it. It wasn't that long ago. But it was amazing. They just showed John Goodman humping the jukebox, playing that song, and then it gets creepy, and it's just everything. I don't even think they showed any dialogue throughout the whole thing. It was just they're in this place. Are they supposed to be there? And then it's just no, they're definitely not supposed to be there.
By the way, he wasn't humping the jukebox.
Well, he was doing a little hump dance.
He was twerking.
Oh, he was twerking. John Goodman twerking. I mean, what is twerking if not humping the air?
With your ass.
With your ass. It's an ass hump. It's an air ass hump. The only line in the 10 Cloverfield Lane trailer was just John Goodman screaming, no. No! 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 You're gonna kill us!
Yeah.
And so it was just really great, and it was super suspenseful, and you're just I have no idea what's happening, but I want to see it.
Yeah.
And that, I think, if you can walk away from a trailer with that attitude, especially for something that's original. I mean, stuff that's comic book movie trailers are easy. You just show the guy and you show him doing an action scene, and that's all you really need. But something that's original to make a good trailer is to keep the mystery.
Yeah, I agree. That is the number one thing that bugs me about trailers nowadays is when they give away too much of the plot, when they give away the whole film. And like I haven't even seen the movie yet, but like I read what happens. But like the Batman versus Superman, one of the last trailers they did, they literally showed you kind of like what's happening in the first act, a little bit of what's leading from the second act to the third act, and then pretty much like the third act final fight sequence. And I'm just like, well, I just saw the movie. What?
No, yeah, we did even the very first trailer they put out. We did an episode on the first trailer they put out, and it was like you said, it's the whole movie.
Yeah,
they showed Doomsday. Why would you do that?
Yeah, like,
well, I mean, why did they have Doomsday? You can branch out to a whole other conversation about how shitty that movie is, but we're not going to do that. They showed Doomsday. They showed everything. I'm pretty sure they showed Wonder Woman in the trailer.
Yeah, I think that would have been like a couple fun twists, and it's sort of like the discussion. Like we can jump on over to like Captain America: Civil War. We all kind of knew they announced that Spider-Man would be in the movie, but what they did was they only showed a glimpse of Spider-Man, but they didn't quite give away spoilers to where the end of it was going. It made it look like all the last end of bit of the movie was going to be that airport fight sequence, but then when you see the movie, it's actually like sort of middle-ish. It's not quite the third act. It's like the end of the second act, so that when that fight sequence is over, you're like, oh, there's still a bunch left. Where is this going?
I was very much against them showing Spider-Man at all in any of the trailers.
Yeah, I'm glad they held off until the final one right before it. I think I'm a little biased because it actually came out, that second trailer came out on my birthday. So I woke up on my birthday, which I had taken off work, and I was
just with a big smile on your face, like, I'm going to watch the Civil War trailer today.
Civil War trailer. Happy birthday to me. And then, of course, it has the very little glimpse of Spider-Man at the end. So at least they showed just a tiny bit. But I agree. Right. Batman versus Superman, they showed Wonder Woman. They could have made that a surprise. Doomsday could have been a surprise. But we won't just talk about superhero movie trailers. But I think that's the number one thing. And we can jump into comedies when they give away, it's opposed to the mystery, too many jokes. Like when you give the funniest jokes in the trailer, it's sort of like when you see the movie, it's like a letdown because you're like, oh, I remember that. Or you remember that like a funny moment's happening, so you're waiting for that to happen in the movie, and then it happens, and you're like, all right, great, it happened.
Exactly.
But now
it's just like, oh, good. Like, and well, that's kind of the same thing with Spider-Man, but we'll get off of that. But the comedies, the trailer can kind of ruin a really great part of the movie for you.
Yes.
I know that you thought this about The Nice Guys. About the Nice Guys trailer, that they had a decent amount of their best jokes in their trailer that they put out. Yeah,
I felt that was one where I wouldn't say all of their best ones, but like if there were 5 of the best jokes, it felt like they put at least 2, if not 3 of them in the trailer. So like obviously that probably all helped me want to see the movie, but then when the movie didn't top the jokes from the trailer, I was just like, oh, okay, well, not the worst thing in the world, but it made me...
Well, like, if that stall scene wasn't in the trailer, if the one where he's like, he punches through the stall and he's like trying to point his gun at him.
Yeah.
If that stall scene wouldn't have happened in the trailer, I would have fell out of my chair laughing at that because it was so funny.
Yeah, or
especially in the moment.
Yeah, that was exactly, that's a joke that like it was almost like that scene. I'm like, all right, well, I got to see this. Like Ryan Gosling trying to like believably yet slapstick comedically draw his gun on someone, but also hold his newspaper that's covering his crotch, cigarette in his mouth, like pants around his ankles. Like there's just so many things. That is,
oh god, that was so funny. That movie is great.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite movie of 2016 so far, even over Deadpool.
I think it's up there for me.
Yeah. But let's not just talk about some negatives. Let's talk about maybe some more trailers that we enjoyed, or ones that, like you said, you watch over and over again. Like one that comes to my mind, and it's probably one of the first I remember back when YouTube was kind of still getting going, is like The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Another comic book movie, but it's because there's so many that come out every year.
Hey, it's not our fault that those that those are the only movies that anyone's really trying on anymore.
Yeah, like, but those trailers, like showing Heath Ledger's Joker, and where the semi gets flipped, and him on the bat pod, and like you see the tumbler, like. It was just so like, I gotta see this. And we would watch it over and over because we're like, this is the closest we can get for like 5 months. So we're just watching it over and over. And that's one that just stuck out to me that like I couldn't have had any more anticipation for that film.
Oh, you want to know a great trailer for a shitty movie that I just thought of while you were talking? I think that I went to see something, and it was fairly recent. But the trailers that came on before it, and I think it was really took effect in the movie theater just because of what it was. It was that Heart of the Sea movie, that like Moby Dick movie that Ron Howard made with Thor.
Oh, man.
Okay. The trailer for that movie was amazing because it just made it look like this like outrageously, almost comedically large whale was real. And it was terrifying, and water terrifies me, especially the ocean. And like being in the ocean, it was amazing because they were able to make this just ridiculous scale thing look real. And I was like gripping my chair, and I was just like, no, he's gonna eat you. And so there's an example of that. But I also have a weird kind of. Do you remember the movie Paul?
Oh, yeah. I saw that in theaters.
Simon Pegg and Nick Frost.
And Seth Rogen voicing the alien Paul.
Right. I don't know if you know this, but apparently I was reading about this somewhere because they were talking about how poorly it did in the U.S., ticket sales-wise. And apparently in England, the way that they advertised it was they just advertised it as Simon Pegg and Nick Frost go to Comic-Con. And that's it. And so, like, when the people who went to see the movie for the first time went to go see the movie, and then this alien showed up, and they're like, what is going on? What is this? And Simon Pegg was talking about it. He was like, we wanted the audience to be just as surprised about the alien as the two main characters were. And so I thought that was a really cool idea to use with the trailer, is to just like leave out some sort of huge twist that is like essentially what the entire movie is
and
about.
Actually, one film I wanted to bring up that's actually just like that. Have you seen the movie Looper?
Yes.
Yeah,
I like
yeah,
Looper.
It's got Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Bruce Willis and Emily Blunt. And what was so amazing about those trailers is, like you said, is they show that the basic plot that is Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a hitman, that in the future they've invented time travel. They send people back. He kills them and he gets money. But they, at some point, will send your future self back, and you have to kill him to like close your loop. And basically Bruce Willis is the old version of Joseph Gordon-Levitt being sent back, and Bruce Willis escapes even though he's supposed to be killed. So Joseph Gordon-Levitt's trying to hunt literally his future self. That was enough to have me interested because I love time travel, and the Joseph Gordon-Levitt looked really good as the young Bruce Willis. The makeup they did, his impression and everything. Bruce Willis, like, it looked like he was actually in a good movie again after being in some shit shows lately. And I was interested in just that. But what had me so surprised and, quite frankly, thrilled was a lot of the stuff that happened in the trailer happened within, like, the first, I'd say, 30 minutes. And then, like, the whole other hour and 15 was a whole new plot device. And we'll just say, spoilers for Looper. It's been out for like 5 years now. Like,
go fuck yourself.
Do yourself a favor and go see that. Or if you live near me, I will let you rent it from the ProSec DVD library. And
$10 a day.
And you will see how amazing this movie is. Because basically the whole different plot point is Emily Blunt's character has a son, which in the future, there's these kids that basically they can levitate stuff with their mind. Telekinesis And none of that was in the trailer. There was like nothing including a kid or Emily Blunt having a kid at all. And you find out that this kid is so powerful that he could literally like explode people with his...
That's a very good way of putting
with
it.
his mind. And it's all of this intense shit happening, and they're trying to get the kid. Bruce Willis is trying to kill the kid. And like, it's just like, wait, where is all this coming from?
Yeah.
Because none of it was in the trailers. And I was so surprised, and it's all just as good as what they advertise. And you don't feel cheated about what they advertise. It's still that movie, but it's so much more. And like, when I recently watched it, it's only like an hour and 55 minutes. Like, it's not a long movie, but the fact that this marketing department was able to show you the first like 30 minutes and like, here's this movie, and then it keeps going and you're like, what is all this?
What is this?
It is one of the honestly, it's one of the few movies in the past, I don't know, like 10 years or so that I saw a trailer and like you said, you didn't feel cheated and like, oh, I already know what's going to happen. And to reveal just a whole huge plot point, like, amazing.
That's the way that I wanted. So, okay, do you remember Cowboys and Aliens?
Yes, I didn't see it, but I remember the trailers.
It's a very mediocre movie. It's, I mean, probably on the bad side, but not, not like angeringly terrible.
Not Ghostbusters female version.
Well, yeah, I mean, apparently that movie's good, but I haven't seen it yet. But Cowboys and Aliens, what it is, it's Daniel Craig is a cowboy, and he like wakes up with this weird thing on his wrist, and aliens come and invade the old western town, and he has to go save someone from stuff.
So there's Cowboys and Aliens.
So there's Cowboys and Aliens, if you can believe it. And so there's what I wanted them to do so badly was I wanted them to just advertise this movie as a Western because Harrison Ford's in it. I wanted to advertise this movie as a Western with Daniel Craig and Harrison Ford, and Daniel Craig wakes up with this, like, just in a field with this weird, like, futuristic thing on his wrist. And then that's it. And so, like, you just think it's like a Western where something's happening with this guy's wrist. And it's James Bond versus Harrison Ford. And that's all you need to know.
So would you have called it something different besides Cowboys and Aliens?
Cowboys, maybe aliens.
I can market that.
Yeah.
But no,
I mean, just anything. I mean, it could be just like any Western, just named after whatever trail it's near.
See, and I would probably be interested in, like you said, just that. Oh, you got Harrison Ford, you got Daniel Craig, and Daniel Craig wakes up with this futuristic. You don't know what it is. Is he a time traveler? Is it like you said? Is it something with aliens? Is he just a scientist like Doc Brown that can just make anything? Like,
is he just like a really advanced jeweler?
Exactly. Like, questions. That's the thing, is like you want to go into the movie asking yourself questions, because the more you're curious about, the more likelihood you're going to want to go see it to get those questions answered. And I would have probably been more interested in that if they advertise it just as a Western, and then you go in and you're like, aliens?
Yeah. What the fuck is this?
But I feel like movie executives nowadays are so afraid that they just won't get people interested, but they're only worried about like opening weekend. I want them to make a movie that like it shocks people, and like all of a sudden you see like their second or third weekends just blow up in ticket price, because
that'd be amazing.
Because like everyone goes and says like, oh my god, I went to see that Western movie, there's fucking aliens in it.
So many aliens.
It's like it's cowboys and aliens.
Because when it first showed up, I was just like, oh, I'm gonna see this. This is James Bond versus Indiana Jones. Why would I not see this?
Now I'd like to bring up some movies that sort of like that the marketing department did, I wouldn't say a terrible job, but they didn't quite sell me on the idea. and then I end up seeing the movie, and the movie was amazing. And I was like, well, come on, why didn't you give me a good trailer? And so I'll throw a couple out there. Like, one, Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Love that.
That movie, the marketing looked awful. Like, I hadn't quite known a lot of Edgar Wright work yet, and then it just saw Michael Cera, and he's like, kind of like going after this girl with pink hair. And like, that's it. And so I literally dismissed it in the theaters because I think
I did a similar thing. Yeah, I was just like, I don't,
because
really
it was the same year that like Inception came out and Toy Story 3, and I forget what else that summer, but there were so many other things to see in the theaters. Like, I didn't want to spend my money on Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Well, eventually I borrowed it from him on DVD, and I loved it.
Yeah,
like,
it's great.
Loved it. And if you've heard the second episode of this podcast, it's on my top 10 movies of all time. Like, I loved it that much, and I was just so blown away by Edgar Wright's unique style to make it like a video game. And I'm like, why didn't they emphasize more of that in the trailer? That it was like, it would have been perfect for us 90s nostalgic, wanting to go back to arcades and Super Nintendo and Mortal Kombat.
I have a feeling that it was because, so like, it's based on that comic book or graphic novel or whatever you want to call it, and it's the style of that comic book is very like cartoony and like anime-y.
Yeah, like 8-bit kind
like
of.
Yeah, and so maybe if maybe they were worried that if they showed that they would kind of not get the people who were the comic book fans because it looked different from the comic book.
True. But I think it's just, to me, like, it almost, I wouldn't say made it look like a romantic comedy, but it looked like just another movie that I'm like,
It looked like a, like a quirky indie high school type situation.
Exactly.
But that's just because Michael Cera always looks like he's in high school.
Yeah, well, they should have understood that. Like, with Michael Cera at the time, he was really only known for Superbad and Arrested Development. So I was like, he's fighting people? Really? But then you see the movie and see how it's like comedic and it's very video game based, and like the editing. And it was like, why didn't you show just glimpses of that? And I would have bought a ticket and maybe loved it so much in the theaters that I went and saw it again, or at least would have told all my friends to go see it. So that's one in particular. And I'll give one more example and see if you have any like this, was Zombieland.
Zombieland is a great movie.
It's another movie that it looked like another zombie movie, and I was like, oh, well, I already have seen some of that. Didn't look original at all. Right. And so I dismissed it because the marketing just made it look like another zombie movie. And then it's, believe it or not, I bought it from a Blockbuster that was closing because it was like $7, and I'm like, I'll buy this on DVD, and watched it and was cracking up. I was like, so many moments where I'm like, holy shit, like with action and the Bill Murray cameo.
Yeah, I love that.
And I was just like, why the fuck was the advertising in the trailer not better for this?
Maybe you just have a problem with short, skinny main leads.
I'm skinniest.
You skinniest. You hate small, skinny guys with puffy, curly hair
that are going to be involved in action in some way.
Right? Yeah. You're just like, nope. My dad is like that. Where it's like anybody who is like any like male lead actor who is like really attractive and in shape, can't stand him. It's just I don't like pretty boys. It's like that. He's really good. Watch 21 Jump Street. It's really good. Nah, Channing Tatum.
My dog Riley wants to come be a part of the podcast. Riley, get out of here. But the number one thing a trailer is supposed to do is make you want to go see the movie. So when a movie just looks average, and now that we're at that age, we're in our low mid-20s, where our budgets, we can probably only see so many movies in a summer or in a year. You're really kind of selective. So when it's just average or bad, I'm like, I'm not going to waste my money on it. Because it's not like when you'd have to get stuff at Blockbuster like months and months later, like where it used to take almost a year to come out on DVD. Now stuff comes out on DVD like 4 months later.
Well, it's like it comes out like the day after it leaves the movie.
Yeah.
Like,
so when it's a movie that the trailer looks average or bad, I'm like, I'll just wait 4 months and I'll pay $1 to get it on Redbox.
Right. Exactly.
Or I'll wait until it's on Netflix, which I'm already paying for, and it'll be for free. So are there any movies like that, like with Zombieland and Scott Pilgrim for me, that you saw maybe years later or just way after it came out on DVD, and you're just like, oh, well, if I knew it was a movie like this, I would have went to the fucking theater?
I mean, it's hard to say because, I mean, I didn't, the one that I wrote down wasn't one that I saw years later. I actually saw it in the theater, but it's because I got a, like, you know, from Alamo Drafthouse, they give you, like, buy one, get one free tickets or whatever for weeknights. And if you had nothing to do, you may as well just see whatever they're offering.
Sure.
And the trailer that I saw was for Spy, the Melissa McCarthy movie.
Oh, okay.
Paul Feig.
Yes, I saw that one.
And I saw the trailer, and I was just like, this looks terrible. I was like, this looks like, you know, it looks like her TV show, that Mike and Molly show. Which is just like the worst thing ever.
Paul Feig's movies, the trailers are never good.
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote that down because I also wrote down Bridesmaids, and then I just like wrote Paul Feig in all caps. What the fuck? And so we went and saw Spy, and it was so funny, and it was like really good, and Rose Byrne was amazing in it, and everything was great. Jason Statham was hilarious, and so I think that trailers have an action comedy problem.
Yeah.
Because all the ones that we've talked about, all of the action comedies that we've talked about either have fine trailers or bad trailers. So it's like there's never like a good action comedy trailer that you're just like, yeah, that looks awesome.
Yeah, I don't know what it is maybe with action comedies. Maybe it's the fact that they show too much humor and not enough action, or they show too much action, not enough humor. Like they just don't show a good blend to know that you're going to get some comedy and you're going to get some kick-ass action.
Right. I mean, it's like it's a lose-lose. You know, if you show the really good jokes, then why'd you show me those really good jokes? I wanted to be surprised. If you show the really good action, why'd you do that? I wanted to be surprised. It's just like, what do I got to do?
Yeah. And then there's the movies that sometimes the trailer ends up better than the movie. And one that I'll say, and like, this isn't trashing it, but it's actually a reversal of one I brought up earlier, but The Dark Knight Rises. Those trailers were epic.
Yeah, they were pretty awesome.
Yeah, it had this like hushed, just like, and like you just knew.
Yeah, you get to hear Bane do his Bane voice, and
there's just, and it's like action that looks like brutal but epic, and like you were wondering how this is all going to come together with Catwoman, Anne Hathaway, with Bane, with Batman, and what's Gary Oldman up to, and like it just like it had so much intrigue to it that I think it built up too much hype, and also it couldn't live up to the expectations of Heath Ledger's Joker and Dark Knight. So,
well, you were like, "What's going on? What is Bane planning?" And then you see the movie, and he just like wants to blow up the city with a nuke. Like what?
Yeah, it and like I'm actually one of the people that defends that movie because like people act like it's garbage. And I'm like, all right.
No, it's definitely better than most, but it's nowhere near as good as the first.
Oh,
two,
yeah.
Is the issue.
Well, it's... And to the people who always like say it's like utter shit, I'm like, you remember Batman and Robin, right? With Arnold.
Nice to meet you.
You know what took out the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. And so... And I won't just defend Dark Knight Rises, but that's an instance where because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, if they took this tone of like this 3-minute trailer and that's going to be like 2.5 hours, this is going to be one of the best movies I've ever seen. And it's not that he Christopher Nolan didn't capture that tone. It's just it fell apart with a lot of writing and plot holes and trying to cram too much in, and then the rest of it happened.
Yeah.
So that's an example, and I'm not sure if you have others too, where honestly the trailer I think is better than the movie.
I have the best example of all time for the trailer being better than the movie.
All right.
Star Wars Phantom Menace.
True. That I remember, like, and it's weird thinking about this because...
Do you remember seeing Darth Maul in the trailer for the first time?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Oh my god.
I remember because that came out when we were 7. And I do, like, faintly remember whether it was on TV or maybe it was another movie we saw in theaters that year in, like, 99, where there's the moment where he takes the lightsaber out and it goes... and it goes out both ends.
Look at that. I'm getting goosebumps right now. I just thought about it. I got goosebumps.
When, like, it's like, okay, the lightsaber came out, and then it was like, oh, lightsabers, and then out the other end, you're like, oh, dude!
just running around the house.
And you're just like, you're like trying to tape 2 of your lightsabers together to make it that.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my god. That is such a good example. Like, just that moment. Like, just that moment, like, had people go, like, holy shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And
then the movie happened.
Maybe just ones that we remember, like, within the last year or two that really stuck out. For me, I loved the way they handled the Star Wars Force Awakens trailers. Because
they were pretty
there
good.
was only, I believe, 2. They released a teaser literally 1 year before the movie came out, which was like nothing. It was like they showed like the Millennium Falcon maybe for a second. They showed like just some text on the screen and like the music. And it was just kind of like, it's coming in like a year. And I was like, all right.
Start salivating, you bastards.
Yeah, and I was like, all right. And then they waited, and that's the big thing, is not releasing too many trailers. They waited, and when they finally gave us like the full trailer, it was like, holy shit. But they did it in a way, like you said, they didn't give it all away. They showed you Harrison Ford, they showed you the new characters, they showed a couple of action pieces, but you still had no idea what was going to happen.
Well, the best thing about it was that, first of all, in the trailer, they didn't mention anything about Luke Skywalker at all. And the whole movie is about trying to find Luke Skywalker, pretty much. And even though this is something that is so important to the movie that they didn't tell you about in any of the trailers, the first lines of the little scroll of Star Wars where they tell you what's going on, the yellow letters. The first line is, Luke Skywalker has disappeared. And you're just like, oh no, why? Where'd he go? It's just something that is so good that like the trailer did it perfectly and the movie did it perfectly, and it was great.
Yeah. And the key thing was, because they knew Star Wars was popular enough that all they needed to give you was a little taste, and you were going to go see it. But if they had released one more trailer with like a bunch of new footage, it would have given away too much.
Yeah.
So I'll kind of flip it on its head, and before I ask if you have any films like that for you, was a movie that gave away too much was Avengers: Age of Ultron. They released, I believe,
the movie was, for being good, though, was a bit of a mess. Anyway.
Yeah, but they released, I believe, 3 full trailers. And you can argue that like they showed a lot of the same clips, but they kept showing a bit more action sequences, a bit more this, to where I was like, they're showing a lot. Yeah. So...
Well, the movie's also like, what, 2.5 hours long?
Yeah. So, like, when they keep showing more, I'm almost like, save some for the movie. like the No Strings trailer with James Spader was awesome. But then they did, like, one more, and I'm like, okay, you already got my money.
Yeah. I think that I stopped watching them. I think that after the first one, I stopped watching Avengers trailers after that.
Well, yeah, and it's a lot easier now because we don't have cable, but the worst is those movies with TV spots. They do these TV spots where, like with Ant-Man, they gave away that Falcon's in it. Or they gave away certain characters that are supposed to show up, and they gave away some Spider-Man jokes for Civil War. So, like, that's another thing, is, like, avoid TV spots. Like, just watch the trailers. If the trailers didn't get you, you're probably not going to want to see it. But
Well, so something that I did with Civil War was I was able to not read anything about it at all. I watched the one trailer, the first one that they put out, and I didn't watch any of the other ones, and whatever. I tried to embargo myself from Civil War information, and then like 3 days before the Spider-Man one, the Spider-Man trailer came out that he was in, my brother texted me. He was just like, "Hey, did you hear that Spider-Man's gonna be in Civil War?" I'm just like, "Damn it, Vin!"
Damn it, Vinny. I guess I'll ask you this, because you watch so many trailers. What would you say, because you guys have done like 30, almost 40 some episodes now?
Almost 40, yeah.
What was the one that you're like, oh my God, and you watched over and over? Like, maybe like the best one.
The best one that we've seen so far? I mentioned it earlier, that 10 Cloverfield Lane trailer is amazing. I can actually watch just that over and over again, just for its own entertainment purposes, and it helps that I love the movie also after I saw it.
But we'll kind of start wrapping up now. Like, as someone who's been, you like I said, you've been watching so many trailers for your podcast. Any other things that you love? Besides like just the mystery with trailers, like one that'll just, something happens and you're like, all right, going to see that.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's usually the only thing that like drags you in like that is either a interesting like actor pairing that you would be really intrigued by. So like if it like those people just show up on the screen and they're really good in that moment, then you're just like, ooh, I like that. Or if there is usually a horror movie or an action movie can just like shock you into going to see a movie, pretty much. Yeah, there's like, I think that we did The Witch at one point, and there's just a few parts in the trailer for The Witch that are just like, oh my God. They're just like, that is so horrible that I need to see it. Which, by the way, if you see The Witch, it is disturbing, but it's not, there's like 3 jump scares throughout the entire thing. So it's a very slow, disturbing, creepy-ass movie. And the music in it made me shat myself. I watched it on my PlayStation. I rented it. And Bethany was somewhere, I don't really know where. And I plugged my headphones into my controller. So I had my noise-canceling headphones on in my living room with The Witch playing at 10:30 at night. I started it at 10:30 at night. And I was so scared. There's like 3 parts during the movie where I was just like so scared that I had to unplug my headphones and make the sound come out of the TV.
Yeah.
So yeah, what was your question? Trailers? I don't like how cut up everything is. Like, I know that a trailer is just a bunch of cut up scenes from the movie, but I think it would be nice if you could find like a moment in the movie and let it play out for those 30 seconds or a minute or whatever, that you can kind of not necessarily, well, yeah, like sum up what's happening in the movie a little bit and what you can expect and stuff like that. You can maybe even play some, put some action scenes and stuff in there over the person's dialogue and whatever's happening and stuff like that. But like, I would like to see a whole thought happen on the screen, so that I'm not just like what's going on in this movie. I just see explosion, crash, punch, person, hot girl.
Like you'd rather see a complete scene play out and then maybe a little bit of other stuff at the end, opposed to just let's see how many things we can show like a quick smash cut of.
Right. Like, I feel like that 10 Cloverfield Lane is not necessarily a whole scene playing out, but it's a whole idea playing.
Yeah. One that I actually just thought of that it didn't get me to go see it in theaters, but like I loved the idea of it, and it made me really want to see it once it came out on DVD was, I don't know if you remember the trailers for The Hurt Locker, with Jeremy Renner as a bomb disposing.
No, I didn't, and I never even saw that movie actually.
Well, like, but you know the basic premise. He's a guy who like diffuses bombs in like Afghanistan or Afghanistan or Iraq.
Afghanistan.
Iraq.
Yeah.
So, like, all they showed for one of the teaser trailers, I think, was he's, you know, in the big explosive, I wouldn't say explosive proof, but the big bomb squad suit, where he's all puffy, and it looks
like a space
Puft Marshmallow Man, and
Stay Puft Space Marshmallow Man.
He's like working on this little device, like because they think it's a bomb or whatever, and like he thinks he's got it, and he pulls it up from the dirt, and all of a sudden surrounded him are like 20 other bomb things. Like,
I do remember that.
This one is attached to others, and it's just like
yeah, and then it just ends, right? The trailer just like ends. It like shows the title and when it's coming out and stuff.
Yeah, like they need to do, like you said, more stuff like that. That's actually a really good idea. But we could talk about trailers forever, and we'll maybe we'll have to continue this on another episode, or we've talked so much about comic book movies that I'm probably going to have Charlie on and just talk about comic book movies because
yeah, just that. But what's gonna happen with that is that we're gonna get caught up on one, and then we're gonna go like 45 minutes on one, and be like, oh yeah, we're supposed to talk about the other ones. Well, I guess we could talk about that forever to bring it back.
Yeah.
Next thing you know,
that's the thing. I mean, I wish I could make the podcast 4 hours, but you know, no one's gonna download it. We're not Pete Holmes, and you made it weird. But
we are individual. We are together, not Pete Holmes as an individual.
But we'll kind of, like I said, we'll wrap up now, and what we do this segment called "I Hate People," where we get to vent about someone. Duber, do you have yourself an "I Hate People"?
I do, and I was actually surprised by it because I'm a pretty agreeable kind of guy. I just kind of let people do whatever they want. Like if someone cuts me off, I was like, they were probably in a rush. It's just like they were probably late for work or something. But there's this woman at my gym that I go to. Yes, I go to a gym. And she goes on the treadmill, and what she does is she like runs for like a few minutes, and then she walks for a few minutes, and which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But what she does when she slows down to walk, she's like really excited by the fact that she just finished a stint of running, and she's like really happy. And so like she'll be running for a little bit, and then she'll turn it down, and then she'll walk, she'll breathe a little heavy, and then she'll just go, woo! Just like scream throughout the entire gym, and everyone like looks up and looks over, and she usually doesn't notice anything. But what's weird is that if she's on it for a really long time, it kind of becomes more and more sexual. So she'll be on the treadmill. The first one she'll do that woo, and then like the second one she'll slow down, she'll start walking, and she'll be like, oh yeah. And then my favorite / least favorite one that she's ever done was she was running, and it was her last bit, and she slows down, she gets walking, and she puts her hands above her head and just goes, oh fuck yeah. And I remember Bethany was there for one time when she did this, and she looked over at her like, what the fuck is happening? And the girl looks over and just goes, what? I'm just like, are you serious? You're screaming in the gym, and you're just like, what? Why are you looking at me? It's like, come on.
God. Yeah, that's...
So yeah, that's that one. I mean, in hindsight, I guess I enjoyed it,
but no, it's something.
Terrible.
Yeah, the gym I can't stand. Like grunting a little bit is understandable, but like when you're just like, oh fuck yeah, like, are we recreating the scene from When Harry Met Sally?
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you.
That's very
you
much what it was
said,
like.
I'll have what she's having.
I'll do that next
you would
time.
have got
there all the time.
roarous applause from everyone else on the treadmills.
It's like an old shitty YMCA. There's like 4 people there at a time.
So mine is not quite as hilarious, but it's something that it just came up. A lot of mine, almost every other time I do an I Hate People, it's about something that happens to me at the bank. And so my shitty day job at a bank is... I've been there, I've been there a year now, and I'll never forget one of the first times I got yelled at was by this one woman who I had just started as a teller like 2 weeks prior. So like I just finished my training, I'm on the drawer, running transactions, and she gave me a payment. And because it was a payment from our bank, you can do it like as cash basically because we can verify the funds. And I didn't know how to do that yet because I was still new to everything. So I just did it like a normal payment. And she was just like, this isn't right. And she literally says like, do you know what you're doing? What's going on in there? Because she's in the drive-thru, so she's like, "What's going on in there?" Like we have we're a bunch of kids running around like playing with computers, like did her payment wrong.
It's like Muppet Babies in the back of the bank.
But anyway, so that was a year ago. That was pretty much not. That was, I would probably say, last August. And here we are when we're recording this, coming up in the next week or so with August.
Yep.
So she came again to the bank to do a payment, and I processed it correctly, how she likes it, where I did it as cash. Every time she's come back, she clarifies, did you do it how I like, did you process it like cash? I'm like, yes, ma'am. And she's proceeded to do that the entire year I've been there. So when she does that payment once a month, it always happens to be me, and no, did you process it correctly? Did you
just say no?
And she did it, and she did it again today. She's like, "Now, did you process that as cash?" I was like, "Yes, ma'am. Yes, I did." And like, I told my manager, I was like, "I've been doing it correctly every time since then for a year." But she remembers the one time when I was brand new that I did it incorrectly.
That sounds exhausting. And it's like one of those things you can't do anything about it. She's gonna ask, and it's not like she's doing anything wrong, really. True. It's just like, yes.
Like, I think I could understand if like maybe like the time after and like 4 times in a row I did it wrong. So it's like, this fucking kid never does it right unless I confirm. Right. But it's like I literally did it wrong once and then correct probably like 12 other times.
How often is this woman going into the bank?
But like I think it's a payment she does about once a month, and
do it online. What century?
Exactly.
Is
this? Most of the stuff that happens, I'm just like, if you have online banking.
It's like, this job doesn't need to exist.
Don't say that. This job. Coming to the end of the podcast where we're gonna do our plugs again. Charlie, it's awesome having you on here again, even though we live in different states.
Yeah, I had a great time.
And we'll definitely have you on again, like I said, talk about comic book movies, or just maybe we'll do a whole one just making fun of Fantastic Four.
Ooh, that could be fun.
Even though it's been out for like over a year now,
then I would get to go watch it again and just be angry for the rest of the week.
So then we're just doing How Did This Get Made with Paul Scheer and
yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
they're just like, hey, you're stealing our gimmick. But
yeah, I'm sure they're listening. They're on the lookout for startup podcasts that are trying to steal their shtick. Hey, You know that podcast you're making in your living room? Cease and desist, motherfucker.
Oh God. So so we'll plug Charlie. Go ahead and plug both your podcasts that you host.
Yes, movie trailer trash with my wife Bethany. That we've been trying to get out once a week. You can follow us on Twitter at MTT Podcast. You can go to the website, mttpodcast.com, read some blogs, check some comparisons, see how wrong we are about most things. I might start doing a corrections one where, which you can help me out with, actually. You can just text me all the shit I got wrong during the episode, and I'll just put like a section that's
an
just
apology
shit
bonus episode.
Yeah, we did Neighbors 2, and I mispronounced the main actor's name throughout the entire thing. I said Mortez instead of Moretz the entire time, and I said it a lot. But so there's that. You can follow us there. You can go to iTunes, subscribe on iTunes, Movie Trailer Trash, rate, review, all that good stuff. The Brothers Marvel is another podcast I do with my brother Vincent, and that you can follow on Twitter at Brothers Marvel. You can go to our website, Brothers Marvel, one of those, brothersmarvel.wordpress.com. We didn't spring for the domain name yet, but we might at some point. It's like $16 a year or something like that. That's way out of my budget. But yeah, you can go and then also do the same thing. Go on iTunes, subscribe, stuff like that.
Awesome. And one thing I totally forgot to mention. Thanking you, Duber. Charlie created the logo for the Entertainment Buffet podcast.
That's true. I forgot about that also.
And he also redesigned the Entertainment Buffet logo, so the updated version and the podcast logo, and also I'm guessing you also do the designs for MTT Podcast and Brothers Marvel.
Yes, I did both of those.
So yeah.
As well.
When he's not making fun of trailers, he's making kick-ass designs. But
by day, graphic design man. By a different time of day, podcast man. By night, I sleep.
So I'll get my plugs out of the way. Like I said, we don't quite do every week like Charlie does with his podcast, but you can catch the Entertainment Buffet podcast every other Tuesday on iTunes. Please subscribe, rate, review, all that jazz. If you're an Apple hater, go to Podbean, Google Play, Stitcher, Blubrry. For other Entertainment Buffet stuff, if you also want to check out Movie Trailer Trash, their episodes are now available on our YouTube channel as well. We're going to be having some new sketches and web shows coming out to you. I also review some movies on there as well. And yeah, so check that out. Subscribe, Facebook, Twitter, entertainmentbuffet.com, any of that shit. Plug. Here we are taking like another 20 minutes just to do all of our plugs.
Right, yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, we don't even get paid for this. This is like stuff that we just do in our spare time, and we already have too much to say.
Imagine if we had sponsors.
Oh, God. You would have the episode, and then you would have the sponsor episode where you just list all the sponsors.
I would love to have a sponsor, though, because I would just be like, well, I would love it to be something like Dunkin' Donuts. Like, I love Dunkin' Donuts, and I would love to they float me some money to just be like, guys, fucking Dunkin' Donuts.
See, I would really want it to be something very like that I really am against. Just like something really terrible that I don't like, so that I could read it in a really just disheartened way. It's like, check out Chick-fil-A specials Monday through Tuesday. They're not open Saturday or Sunday because they hate you and gay people and everyone.
And they're like, should we be paying this kid to say this?
It's like, what are you doing? We didn't write that. That's not what we wrote. I see it right here. That's in your handwriting.
But honestly, like, I think my wife was actually making fun of me the other day because she had found a place that literally is the best breakfast sandwich I've ever had. And unfortunately, you can't have it Charlie, because it's this place in Aurora, Illinois, called Jake's Bagels. And so I went to work, and I'm just advertising this. And she's like, why are you, like, advertising for them? I was like, because I don't want them to close. Like, what?
Yeah, I've done that a few times. There's a place called Empanada Madness in Kansas City. And
Empanada
it's
Madness.
awesome. I love it. It's so good. It's like, traditional, whatever, original empanadas. They're like this big, and I know I just said this big on an audio thing, but I'm talking to Brandon. You guys are just listening in. and they're filled with meat, and they're amazing. And they have bars up on their windows and stuff. They're in like not a great part of town, and I love it.
Thanks again for coming on, Charlie. And please. I almost forgot to do this, but I noticed you guys do it. But if you want to email in the Entertainment Buffet podcast, it's just entertainmentbuffet@gmail.com.
We have gotten no emails yet,
I don't expect we will either. But I thought I'd float that out there.
Me and Vin wanted people to email us about if there's any information that correlates to ants and their creation of honey, because that seems to happen a lot in 1960s Ant-Man comic books.
I bet it's just going to be your wife emailing us and just being like, yeah, you guys talked about fucking comic books too much, or
this is too long.
That's the subject in the email, and then there's no body of the email. It's just, this is too long.
And then there's a JPEG attachment that's just her flipping us off.
All right, guys, we'll podcast at you later. Is that? That's the worst. That's not how I'm ending it.
Podcast you later. We'll see you at the Entertainment Buffet later on, but it's not 24 hours, but it's good and all you can eat, except not a lot.
You were struggling
through
it.
You can hang out and you can eat some entertainment, but don't be greedy on that little bit of entertainment, because it'll come around, it'll bite you in the butt. Your stomach will hurt. So there's that.
All right.